Hello everybody. This is Professor West. Welcome back. This will be a short one. Today we're using the MIT App Inventor, and we've been working on recreating the old Super Mario Brothers game. And so far, we have given him the ability to appear to be running to the left, and appear to be running to the right, and then he jumps, and depending on which way he jumps, which way he's facing, he gets the right or the left facing jump. Now it's time to add a bad guy. So let's do that. It's not going to take very much to add a bad guy. So we're going to come over to our drawing and animation. And I'm going to add an image sprite over here towards the left, because I want him to start off over there. And I'm going to come into the pictures. Let me upload. I'm going to go to upload file. And let me upload a couple of pictures of a bad guy. I'm going to click on choose file. And I have this folder with a bunch of different bad guys on it. I'm going to upload Turtle Left 1 and 2. So let me get those first. And I'll show you why in just a second. And I'm also going to upload this one that's a shell. And let me explain why we're doing Turtle 1 and Turtle 2. Just like with Mario, we have 4 images that are circling around of Mario, and it makes it look like he's running. I'm going to do the same thing with this turtle. Here's one picture, and here's the other picture. That's all I'm doing, is I'm just going to have it constantly doing this as it moves forward. The only thing that's going to be changing is his feet. But that's going to give it the appearance that he's actually walking. So let me get off of this. And that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to basically set up a little loop that does that and that moves him towards us. So to do so, we're going to have to add 2 more clocks. So let's come over to sensors, and let's get clock 5 and 6. Or actually, in mine it'll be 1 and 2 because I renamed my other clocks. And once we have that, and we have the sprite on the screen, we could go ahead. We've uploaded the pictures. We're going to tell it in the code what to be. But if you'd like to go ahead and put one of them on here, doesn't matter which one. And now we can resize it, because that's going to be huge. So I'm going to resize him a little smaller than Mario, so maybe 40 by 40 to start. And let's see. I think that's actually a pretty good size for Mario. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I did 40 by 40. And my Mario is 50 by 50, so Turtle really shouldn't be quite as big as Mario, but we'll see. So anyway, now that you have that, let's go into the blocks. And here's all the code that we have so far. We're going to ignore most of this. We're going to come back and add a couple things to it in a little bit. But let's just come on down to the bottom. Let me move some of these out of the way a little bit. And I'm going to come down here to the bottom. And I'm going to create, or first I'm going to get my clock 5 timer, or my clock 1 timer. So that's the 5th one you put on there. If you haven't been renaming them, then it's number 5. If you have, then it's number 1 right now. And I'm just going to get the timer part so that it'll start. And what I want it to do is, I want it to come to my turtle, and I want it to simply start moving him to the right. So to do so, I need to find out where it currently is. So, and then I need to set his new spot to be a little to the right of that. So I'm going to come into my Mario sprite, and I'm going to come all the way down to the set X. Because all I'm worried about is his X. All I'm worried about is how far from the left side of the screen he is. I don't want to mess with how far up and down he goes. I just want to move the X. And the more I increase it, the more he'll move to the right. Which means I now need to go into math and get a plus sign mathematical function. And to do this, I'm just going to tell it to be wherever he is, plus some number, like maybe 4. So let's go back into the Mario sprite, go all the way back down to the X, and we're going to do the one without the set this time. That's the get. That's the one that asks what it is. So we're going to ask what its X is, if it's 50 pixels from the left, if it's 100 pixels, whatever, and then we're going to add 4. So I'm going to come up to the math, and I'm going to get a number and plug it in, 4. And that's all it's going to take. Every time my clock, I'm going to come back over here and change the pixel rate on my clock, because I don't want it to happen every second. That's 1,000 milliseconds. I want it to do it every 10th of a second, which is 100 milliseconds. And while I'm here, okay. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and readjust the second clock time as well. Okay. And then I'm going to uncheck the timer enabled for both, because I don't want it to automatically move as soon as the screen loads. I want it to wait until I tell it, click the start button and tell it to. So we'll go in and fix that in just a minute. So let's go back to our blocks. And I need to get an if statement. So let's come up to control. I need an if then else. And remember how if then else statements work. There's a question here, a condition. If this is true, then do this, otherwise do this, else do this. So if you're hungry, or if hungry equals true, then go eat something, otherwise go outside and play. That's my favorite example. So if my image sprite picture is the one with his feet going one way, then I want to change it to the one with his feet going the other way. So I'm going to come back into my image sprite. This is the one for my turtle. I could have named it turtle, but I didn't. We should have named it turtle. So I'm going to set the picture twice. And I also need to come back in and I need to get the one that gets what the picture already is. And that's going to be a condition. So I'm going to need to use an equal sign. And we're going to use the math equal sign because we're going to use a number. So if, let's just move it down here out of the way. If the current picture equals, actually we're not. I'm sorry. I was thinking I had to have math, but I don't, because I'm going to use an actual name. So let's get the green equal sign instead, because the green one compares non-math things. And I'm going to get a text. I'm going to get an empty text up here. And I'm going to put in the name of the turtle, which is turtle with a capital T, left with a capital L, 01.png. So my condition is going to say if the current picture is turtleleft.png, turtleleft01.png, then set the picture to be, and I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to change that to turtleleft02.png. So if it's true that picture 1 is showing, then I'm going to tell it to show the picture 2. Otherwise, I'm going to go back, I'm going to duplicate this one just so I don't have to change anything, and put the other one. So now it's going to check. Every time it loops, every 10th of a second, it's going to ask which picture is showing. Is it 1 or 2? And let me come back over here for clarification. This is 1, and this is 2. So I'm telling it, if this is the picture that's showing, then show this picture. Otherwise, means this picture showing, show this picture. So that's all that did. And it moves him to the right. So if I come over to my emulator now, and I'm going to have to restart it apparently. Hold on a sec. Okay, so I got the emulator up, but before it can work, I have to tell clock 1 to start. And that's going to happen when I click my button start. So that's my very first button. So I'm just going to tell it to set my clock 1 enabled to true. So when you push that button, it's going to start running this new clock, and it's going to start moving. Oh, I did that wrong. I don't want the Mario sprite to be moving to the right. See, that's why you always have to double check everything. I want my image sprite 1, that's my turtle, to move. So you know what? I'm going to come over and actually rename that now, because I don't want to get that confused anymore. So I'm going to click on my image sprite 1, and I'm going to come down to rename, and I'm going to call that turtle sprite. And this is the part I love about MIT App Inventor. It changed the name in every single place that was referencing my turtle sprite, my image sprite 01. So now they're all called turtle sprite. And that'll help me keep track of it so I don't accidentally do the wrong one. So when I hit the start button, it should start moving to the right and keep changing pictures. And that's all I've told it to do. I didn't tell it what to do if it hits him. I didn't tell him that he could jump on it or anything. So it just completely ignored him. But that's all it had to do. So now I need to go in and I need to set it up where something can happen if we jump on him. And to do so, I'm going to go into my clock 4. My clock down. That's my 4th clock. So I need to find it. There it is. Okay. This is the one that controls his descent when he jumps. So Mario's. So when I jump, it goes clock up, clock up, clock up, clock up, clock up. Okay, clock down, clock down, clock down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a variable. And let's make sure I haven't created it yet. I don't see it anywhere. Okay, I'm going to create a new variable. So let's come over to variables and get a new variable. And I'm just going to call it heading down. And that'll be whether or not he's heading down. I'm going to set it to false, which means he's never heading down until I say he's heading down. And then I'm going to come into my timer. As soon as this activates and it gets the very first bit, I want to come in and say that he's heading down. So I'm going to set the heading down, and I'm just going to plug it right here at the top of the if statement. And I'm just going to copy this true and plug it in. So as long as he's heading down, all it's going to do right now, before I put this in, all it would do would just loop and add 8 more to it, so that way it would go down. And then it would check again and keep doing that until it got to the end. So I'm telling it here that as soon as he starts to move down, we're going to set our global heading to true. And the reason we're going to do that is, in a minute, we're going to say if we're moving down when we land on the turtle, then, hurt the turtle kind of thing. So we also need to come to our else statement, because remember, this is going to trigger once he reaches the bottom and he's no longer moving down. So we're going to duplicate, and we're going to set that one to false. It's false the entire game except when he's heading down. If he's heading down, then it's not false. It's true, and that way we can set it up to do something. So let's go in and do that now. I need to set up some collision with my turtle. So I'm going to come to my turtle sprite, and I'm going to get the collided with. That's the very top one. And I'm going to say if my turtle sprite collides with something. And first and foremost, I need to get me a condition with this equal sign. And oops, actually I don't need that yet. I'm looking at my notes, and I do this to make sure I don't miss anything, and I just looked at the wrong part. Okay. So in my image sprite, in my turtle sprite, I need to see what he collided with. So I need to get an if-then statement. So let's get an if-then and plug it in. And let's get a logic for an equals, because I'm going to use that. And then let's go to our Mario sprite and go all the way down to the very last item. And that just says Mario sprite. Because I'm going to say if whatever we collided with is the Mario sprite, then do something. And remember, when you collide with something, we've covered this before, when you collide with something, when this turtle sprite collides with anything at all, it remembers it as the variable other. So for now, he's colliding with Mario, he's colliding with something. So I'm going to say, is Mario equal to whatever he collided with? And if it is, then I need to do something else. It's going to depend on whether or not Mario is heading down or not. So I need to get me an if-then-else statement here and plug it right in. So now that I know he's colliding with Mario, I need to come in and say, okay, well, is Mario heading down? So let's get another logic with the equal sign from the green section. And I need to get my global heading down and see if that's true. So if global heading down equals true, so if I collide with Mario and he's heading down, then what do I want to do? Well, I want to stop my clock 1 timer here that's moving him to the right, because I don't want him to keep moving to the right. So I need to disable my clock 1 timer. So I'm going to come all the way down and find the enabled, set clock 1 timer enabled. If you haven't been renaming these, then yours will be clock 5 timer enabled. I need to set that to false. So I'm just going to copy a false from somewhere and plug it in. And that'll stop him from moving to the right. Then I want to change the picture that's on him. Here I'm changing it back and forth from the left turtle 1 picture to the left turtle 2 picture. So I'm just going to duplicate one of those. And I'm going to change it so instead of turtle left or turtle right, it's turtle shell, or actually it's just shell 01.png. And now I have to go back over and make sure that I actually uploaded that one, because I don't remember if I did. Yes, I did. There it is. Last one that I've uploaded. So that's there. So now, if I collide with Mario and he's heading down, we're going to stop that timer. We're going to set the turtle shell, or the turtle picture, to be the shell. And then we're going to move it just a little to our left. So let's come get a set for the turtle sprite. We're going to set the X. And let's come to the math and let's get a minus. Because we're going to set the X to be whatever the X is minus a number. So we're going to come back into the turtle sprite, come all the way back down and get the turtle sprite X. Minus, and I'm probably going to just duplicate a number from here, and I think I'm probably going to give it a number like 40. So that way when he lands on it, let me pull up my picture. If he lands on it here, it's going to go bloop and come out to about here and turn into a turtle shell. And the last thing I need to do, if that all happens, is I need to set my other clock, my clock 2, to be true, so it'll start moving. So my clock 2 enabled is going to be true. And the clock 2 is simply going to move it back to the left of the screen. And now, there's one more thing I can do. In this game, if Mario hit somebody that was not one of the bad guys, that was one of the bad guys, but he wasn't jumping on top of it, then it would put a smaller picture of him. It would change to a smaller picture. So I'm going to do that now too. So let's come back into the designer. Let's come back to the upload, and let's upload that smaller picture. And it's not in this folder for me. It is in my Mario folder. And it's just called Mario Small. And for now, I'm just going to use the one picture. I actually already have several of him smaller, so I can change the animation so he would still be running, but small. So I'm just going to say I'm going to grab one of these with the name on it. I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to change this to Mario. And I'm going to say the Mario picture is Mario small 01.png. So now I need to worry about clock 2, because I haven't done anything for clock 2 yet, except for turn it on right here. So I can't turn it on unless I have it, so let's make it real quick. Clock 2 is going to have only one function. So let's get the timer for it. Yeah, there's a connection here, I know. And the timer, let me go ahead and reset the connection. The timer is just going to call my function that slides my turtle shell back across. So let's go ahead, go up to procedures and create that procedure now. We're going to get the top one that says do to procedure do. And I'm going to change that name, and I'm just going to call it slide, because that's my turtle. He's going to slide. And I'm going to come to control and get an if then else and plug it in. If my image sprite of my turtle X is greater than 1, remember it starts at the left and counts higher. So if it's greater than 1, then that means it's somewhere out here and I want it to slide this way for now. Later we can adjust it so it depends on which way we hit it. But for now we're just going to do the simple way. So let's get I'm going to need this location, so let's get the turtle sprite X. Oops, actually I wanted the one that gets the turtle sprite X, but we'll use the set also. And I need a math comparison, so let's get that. And I want to change that to be greater than, and I want to say if the turtle's location is greater than, and I'm going to duplicate this number, and I'm going to change that to about a 1. If his location is greater than 1, then set the location to be, I need a math with a minus, whatever his location is, so I'm going to duplicate this, minus something like 10. I'm just going to use this number. I want to duplicate it, put it in, and say 10. So as long as he hasn't made it back to that left edge yet, I'm just going to keep looping through because of my clock. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go to procedures. Let's get the one we just created called slide and plug that into my clock. Clock 2 was enabled here, so it's just going to keep calling this. Every time it's going to check to see if he's made it to that left edge yet, and if not, it's going to subtract 10. So zoop, 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 zoop. And when he gets there, then it's going to be, this condition is going to be false. And what do we want to do? We want to change the picture back to a turtle. So let's go ahead and get one of these. Either one doesn't matter. And we want to disable our clock number 6, or clock number 2 rather, and enable our clock number 1. So we've already got that all here. I'm just going to copy one of these. I want to disable this one, so I'm going to make it false. And I want to enable clock number 1. So I'm going to make that true. And clock number 1 is what's going to make it start walking to the right again and switching pictures. So once that shell gets to the edge, it's going to stop moving to the left by disabling this clock. It's going to switch back to the picture of a turtle and start walking back towards us again. So I'm going to pause and restart the emulator, and we're going to see that work. Okay, my emulator's back up. If we did everything correctly, I'm going to move over here a little, then it should do exactly what I said. This clock is going to be triggered. It's going to make the turtle start walking to the right while changing the pictures back and forth from 1 to 2. If we jump and land on it, then that should trigger him to stop moving to the right. It should change the picture to a shell. It should bloop the shell back to about here, and then it should call the other clock, which is going to make it start sliding backwards. When he gets to this wall, it should turn back into a turtle and start walking towards us again. So let's find out. There it goes. Obviously my jump is a little high. There it goes. And then if it hits us, it should turn into the small picture. But that's not working because we told it to enable clock 1, and clock 1 simply calls the pictures of the bigger him walking. So if I turn that off and start my turtle over, but oh, we didn't tell it. Alright, this is important. I need to come up into my start button where it starts things, and I need to tell it to move my turtle. Let me get my set turtle X. Any of these should work. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to move it all the way up. And the X is going to be, I'm going to set it to 1. So let's get the emulator back up. When I click the start button, my turtle now appears back at the left. And when it hits, oh, I still didn't tell it when it hits to disable. I've got it set up in here, but in my collision, if it's not heading down, I have it switched to Mario, but I don't have it turn off the clock of him walking. So let me do that for now, and that should fix my problems. In programming, a lot of it is trial and error. You do something and it either works or it doesn't work. And I just set my because I forgot that's not the clock. Clock left is my Mario clock. I stopped the turtle from walking. Okay, well, one more time. And this will either work or you'll just have to figure it out. Okay, so it stopped walking. Oh, I went in and specifically set the size of my Mario earlier, of this sprite, to be that size. So it doesn't matter if the picture's smaller or bigger, it's still going to be that size because that's what I've told it to be. So, there's a couple different ways we could fix this. In programming, that is often the case. We could add a second sprite of a smaller one and just tell it to make this one invisible and make the other one visible. Or we could come in and resize the Mario sprite here. And, for now, let's just do that. Just to show you that you can. I'm going to set the size. I want to set the height and the width. So I'm going to set the height, and I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to set the width. And let me get rid of both of those. And let me give it a number. Earlier, I said that our Mario was set to be 50. I'm going to set it to 25 for the height and 25 for the width. So when they collide now, you should see him stop walking and shrink a lot. And of course it goes by the top X, so now I would need to move the X down so that it would fit, so he would still be down here. But anyway, you get the point. There's a lot more you can do. I want you to think about this for just a minute. We now have a bad guy that can walk across the screen. We can jump on him and he changes into a turtle and shoots off. Or we could let him hit us and we turn small. There are other bad guys that do the exact same thing. There's the mushroom guy. Only instead of turning into a shell, he turns into a squish and then goes invisible. You can easily do that now with the same code. There's the mushroom guy with the wings. Instead of moving across, he's up a little higher and he dips down and comes back, and dips down and comes back. That's all he does. There's the bullets that just fly across like this. Just fly straight across. And everything else is exactly the same. If you jump on him and he hits, then it kills it. And if you hit him, then he turns small. You turn small. So you can now do every single bad guy in Mario with just a few exceptions. You can make them all on the screen. So what we're going to do in the next segment is we're going to take our screen and get it moving. and that way it'll look like an actual game. Because see how my turtle's still walking? Well, if Mario was still walking, that would look really silly. And, yeah, it would look really silly if the screen's not moving. So we want the screen to move also whenever he's walking. So we're going to do that in the next one. And I'm going to also fix the height to go back, because I don't want it to just stay there. So anyway, hope to see you there. Bye, everybody.